Now, our last speaker of the day, my dear friend, a superstar legend in the network marketing profession, and a guy that can show you how to take a prospect and turn that prospect into a distributor, and a distributor into a superstar. Please welcome to the stage, Mr. Tim Sales.
Hey, buddy. Thank you. Good evening. You know, I consider it quite a compliment that you'd be here this late. And it's kind of like we're having a little slumber party, isn't it? Yeah. So for those of you that are online, go to bed. It's late. No, I'm joking. This will be worth your while, I assure you. How you doing? You guys doing all right? Was Jordan Adler incredible or what? He and I were standing over talking. It's been many, many years since we were on the same stage together. I was around back when Excel Communications was doing work and doing business and things like that. And so I asked him, I said, what does everybody need? And he said, you know, a little bit of grounding, a little bit of, you know, like, what's it all about? And I'm probably, you know, it was kind of funny for me to watch Jordan, because he and I have never shared content ever, but we have a lot in common. And so if the lead generation, the Facebook, the, you know, pump thousands of leads an hour is on this side, and then Jordan came here, I would say I'm probably in here. All right, so I was the first, really one of the very first, if not the first networker to go online. Brilliant Compensation went online. You remember that little character that did that? Yeah, I went online in 1997 with that. I was standing in a little place in Australia, and it was feeding into this little hotel room in the bottom. It was on a computer, a very slow computer running Windows. I don't even believe it was 95 yet. But it was running at 1400K, not 14,000K, 1400K. And that was the reason that I made an animated version, is because I didn't want it to be going. You guys remember internet when it was like that? Yeah. And so so I definitely am on that side. I like the internet, but I put about $2 million into creating a system that would automate and would do a lot of things. And I figured out that I could sponsor people, but no one would duplicate. It wouldn't work. And as much as I wanted to go out there and tell everybody, you know, that I had just created the cat's meow, I couldn't. I had to tell the truth. You guys notice that little thing about me? I'm the guy that won't pick up the dollar on the ground because I didn't earn it. And so sometimes it does something to me. I couldn't get it to duplicate. There's only, if there's like nothing that you get out of my entire conversation, I want you to remember this one thing. It's one of those things that I'm going to beg you to understand so that you're never distracted out. All right? So it's a centering phrase I'm going to tell you. This industry of multi-level marketing, I'm not talking direct sales, I'm talking multi-level marketing. It only works if you train. In other words, we do not make money on the front end, we make money on the back end. You must train and get them effective, and so that they duplicate. You are not paid on the front end. All right? You're not paid. If you'll look at a compensation plan, what normally goes on is that the company will carve out 1/2. All right? So if there's a dollar in here for profit, they'll give you half and they'll take half to run the company. All right? Now, your half, let's just say it's this bottle, and so this is your half and this is the company's. How's that half split? How much do you make on the front line? What do you make on the people you personally enroll as compared to the people that you make on your 7th generation? Do you see, the money is always around 40% in the depth, 10% up in the front end. And so direct sales is just the opposite. They'll pay you 40% on the front of it, and they'll pay you 10% on your first 2 levels. That would be like a Mary Kay plan. It would be like what Avon tried to do. You guys get it? If you're in multi-level marketing, you do not get paid on the front end. You get paid on the back end, or in other words, the downline. All right? I am not the greatest recruiter, but I would pride myself in that I train like crazy. I'm a nut. I will not let my people not know how. Okay? And my wife can tell you that I drive her nuts because I'm always worried about this person, and I'm always talking about, I need to get this person over this barrier. I need to get that person to be able to do this. You guys get that? All right. So that was, like, I'm going to go through some stuff for you. I'm going to do some drills with you. But I was just sitting over there thinking about what Jordan said to me about, like getting grounded, and I want to show you on all sides. There's a slide I'm going to show you a little bit later on, and it has 3 parts. All right? There's leads. There's inviting and presenting, and then there is customers and reps, or distributors, okay? And so I'm going to show you how I do coaching, how I coach. Because if you're not coaching on specifics, what in the world are you coaching on? Your soapbox, right? You just figured out how to explain that silly comp plan, and so you want to tell the world. Well, you know what? About 92% of all the people in my organization could not get the invitation right. They're never going to get an opportunity to say the comp plan. So why are you standing on a stage talking about a comp plan? Make sense? Okay, I can defuse a bomb, but let me see if I can figure this thing out. All right, so I'm going to repeat for those of you, let me learn my audience just a little bit. How many of you were at the Eric Worre event in, I think it was around December? How many of you were here? Okay, keep your hands up. And don't let them down unless you are not number 2 here. How many of you have ever listened to Professional Inviter? Okay, excellent. Thank you for raising your hands. You can put them down now. All right, so now I know my audience, and I know what I'm going to need to cover. Okay? Let's do this. The industry is made up. Anytime you really step back and you look at the elephant and you look at how big of a project that you've got going on, I want you to just think about dividing it up into 3s, okay? Or thirds. 1 is invite them, 2 is to present to them, and 3 is to train them. And guess what you're going to train them to do? Invite and present. Okay, wow. You guys are awake this late. Have you ever heard, it's not what you know, it's who you know? It doesn't matter if you don't invite well. Like if you don't communicate well, it doesn't matter who you talk to because you're going to blow all your relationships. So don't you think this is something we kind of need to get good at? And have you all, not you, have you all experienced someone who was annoying? Okay, good. Just want to make sure that, just in case you need to train one of those people. Have you ever heard this, men, from your wife? It's not what you said, it's how you said it. So evidently there's something more than the spoken word. There is some implying going on, right? And so if you have, some sarcasm or something like that. So it's not what you say, it's how you say it. But the problem is who teaches you that part? Your wife, right? The other one people have asked me is, are leads expensive? If you're not very good at inviting and presenting, leads are always expensive. Right? What's your conversion rate if you're horrible at it? 0. Okay. And so that's the reason why I ever came out with this concept of professional inviter. All right? That's the reason that I came out with it. Is because I was this kid who grew up in a small town in Tennessee, and I had a real issue in talking to people. Very, very shy, extremely shy. And in fact, if you know any of the guys in the military, in the diving program and in the bomb squad that I was a part of, they all had a similar phrase about me. And I promise you this is what they would say about Tim Sales. He don't talk much. I mean, think about what a bomb squad tech does. He doesn't sit around thinking about social activity. He thinks about blowing people up. Yeah, I bet if this thing jumped off the ground about 5 feet and it blew up, right? So it's just a completely different mindset. And so when I decided that I wanted to go from the destruction side of life to the construction side of life, I knew that I had to change. And in the process of making myself change, I had to do some things. I had to learn some things. And one of those was to communicate. And unfortunately, most people who learn to communicate learn so by their parents or someone in their vicinity when they're young before they get that concern, that worry. And so therefore, they don't remember how they learned to communicate. And so therefore, they can't teach it to somebody who doesn't know it, because they don't remember learning it. Jordan Adler's conversation about the bicycle and the balance was gorgeous. It was just gorgeous. And the reason being is because I've used that analogy before about walking, about watching a child walk. It doesn't matter how many videos he sees of somebody walking, until he stands up and he does the funky chicken for a while, he's just not going to walk. And so in communication, I did the funky chicken for a long time. It was horrible. I do not know how anyone survived my approach. I would stand in an elevator, and I would wait for somebody to come on, and I would say, hi. That's it. Well, you know what? The first 10 times up and down the elevator, I didn't say a thing. Just having them in the same space with me was enough. And then I would say hi and step off. So when the doors would open, somebody would come in, I'd say hi, and I'd step off, just in case I messed that up. I'm not dramatizing. I'm not sensationalizing this for an effect. I'm telling you the truth. Because in just a moment, I'm going to break down what I had to learn about communication so that you can learn it. But if you already are a whiz, don't sit back like you're not going to sponsor one of me one day. Like, really. Take notes, okay? All right, so inside of my organization, this is back when I got some success in the very beginning, all right? I had a list of activities that kept me committed. It kept me doing. It kept me active. That way I could, if it didn't make me $10,000 a month, I wouldn't do it. That was my rule. That was the grid. That was everything about how I existed. I sold my gis, my karate outfits, my golf club, all my guns, everything. Wow, most of that was killing, wasn't it? Anyway, I sold everything. right? And if it didn't make me 10 grand a month. And so these were the things that I would track that every single person did. And then they would fax them to me every night. And what I found is that, you know how when you, back in the days when you licked envelopes or you wrote return addresses or something, you'd feel like you wanted a stamp because you kept saying the same thing. And so on your address, you would say, I wish I had a stamp. And that was the way that it was, because I was always replying back to everyone by fax and telling them what they needed to work on. Because everyone seemed to have a problem right in that same area. Dials, connects, and appointments. And what it dawned on me was that if a person didn't have confidence, there's two confidences. If a person did not have confidence in their ability to invite, they would not write down the name. And number two is if they did not have the confidence that they could train the person they brought in to be successful, then they wouldn't write a name down. They would never make a phone call. Okay? So if you've got a doubt that if you think I can't convert someone over to being successful, then you will withdraw. You will hold yourself back because you don't want that person in pain. Right? Real easy for Jordan. Real easy for me. I know with certainty. There's no doubt in my mind. When you get that, that's the easy day. But until then, what do? That's what I'm here for. Okay, so realizing that people need help in dials, connects, and appointments, I went to work. All right? And I came up with something called the 10 communication qualities. Those were 10 communication skills. And I came up with the inviting formula. And that was the sequence that you talk to someone and what you talk about. Because at that time, I was the script monster. I would walk around with this big radio. We didn't have MP3s. I had this big radio. And I bought it from a guy who was leaving the Navy. And he didn't know where he would put it on the airplane. And so, I mean, it was a big box. And so I would walk around in the opportunity meetings with this thing. And I would walk up to people who had guests. And I would say, what did you say to get your guest here? And then I would record it. And I would get a whole bunch of these every time. And anytime there was an event up in Philadelphia, I'd drive up there. And when there was an event down in Richmond, I'd drive down there. And I'd record these things. And then I would transcribe them. And I would put little accent points. Because I realized that it wasn't just a function of them saying something. It was the emphasis that they put on it. And so I put little accent marks. And then when I would be driving in my truck, I had one of those little notepads that has a suction cup that sticks up. And I would sit there and I would read that as I was driving. And I would practice those scripts. And so I thought all I needed to do was to get other people to use the scripts. And I put people on the phone. And I kid you not, I've heard a person reading a script to a prospect. And they say the person's name that wasn't the name, but it was the name that was in the parentheses in the script. And they say blank. They say the word blank. If I could show you a way to make blank, would that interest you? And so, yeah. So scripts wasn't going to work. I couldn't do scripts. And so what I decided was that when you first call somebody, you greet them, right? Greet, hi, right? And I considered that a bucket. So inside the bucket, you could talk about this, you could talk about that, right? You could talk all about this stuff. And then, but once they said a certain couple of phrases, then you were over here. And that's called the qualify step. And in the qualify step, you could talk all around here. Don't you dare go backwards. You could stay in here. And when they said a certain thing, that was rights to go to invite. You greeted them, you qualified them, and then you invited them. Don't dare get that sequence out. And that's what I trained everybody on, and it worked until it didn't. In other words, it worked for so many people. And then I got somebody at my house. We were doing 10 and switch. I'd dial 10, he'd dial 10. I'd dial 10, he'd dial 10. And inside of there, something hit. And where I was having success, he wasn't. And I was like, he's doing it right. So I had to come up with some different things here. So the inviting formula, which is the sequence that you say something, is greet, qualify, and qualify means find out what they need, want, or don't want in life. And then you invite them to look at something that'll help them get whatever it was they said they need, want, or don't want in life. And then you close them into an action step. If you said I'm going to send you a video, then get them a video. If you said you were going to send them a website, send them to the website. If you said you were going to send them a tape, send them a tape. You close them into an action step. And then any questions or objections, those pop up wherever they do, and you handle them right there, and then you keep on going. And then you follow up or follow through. You have to follow up. I'm just going to tell you right now. If you don't follow up, I will get them. I am just shocked how many people won't follow up. Okay. Here is the communication qualities. And this is the thing that the fella couldn't get it right. And I just kept on making phone calls with him, until finally he said something. I caught it. He said, if you qualify, if you qualify, if you qualify. He said it 3 times on the same phone call. And after he hung up, I go, why did you say if he qualifies? And he said, I'm posturing myself. And I go, well, you sound arrogant. Don't do it anymore. And so he didn't. And then we called some more, and then he had some other issue came up, and I corrected that one. And then finally, he got some success. And it was called the 2 communication qualities. There were not 10. Until I did enough people to where there were no more errors. And then I could get consistent result. And so it became, so number 1 is be interested in the prospect. Really interested. Not, I'm going to try to maintain eye contact. It's really interested. Like if they say they're an engineer, don't go, oh, cool. What kind of engineer? What's your day like? You know, why did you get into that? Were you the kid that tore the lawnmower apart when you were young? You know, it's like get into their life, figure them out. Number 3 is having sincere, friendly facial expression. Number 4 is to use the right amount of assertiveness. I'm going to go into this one in just a second because you're going to need it for the drill. Number 5 is to communicate easily. Do not have the strain that Tim Sales had every single time that he talked. As a matter of fact, and those of you who are on the internet, I'll be right back. I was sitting right here, I think, at my first event. And this person who was on the stage, how dare them, they walked off and they said, I want to hear from some of our new people. Stand up and introduce yourself. And I stood up. Now, I was there 20 minutes early. And when I stood up and I turned around and I saw all the eyeballs, I froze. Done. And she was tugging on my arm, trying to get the mic out of my hands. And I remember her saying, let's move to Rick while he figures out his name. And she took the mic out of my hand, and I was still standing there. I nearly died that day. I can defuse a bomb, but I can't look at all those eyeballs. All right? So, communication quality number 5 is to communicate easily, wherever you are. Number 6 is to make sure your body doesn't distract the prospect. This one is fun, gets me in a lot of trouble with the ladies. Number 7 is to tell the truth. You know what? I can't leave it at that. That sounded a little wrong. What I do is that I just insist that people dress in such a way, and they wear clothes that means that when you're getting ready to go meet with a prospect, you're asking yourself a simple question. This prospect needs, wants, or doesn't want something in life. He's not able to get it, evidently, because he already would have had it. And so he needs my help. And so while you're deciding your wardrobe, don't wear something sexy unless you want him. All right? In other words, go there professional. And afterwards, you know what? If you want to go out and streak down the street, skinny dip in the next door neighbor's pool, go ahead. But while you're in business, dress that way. Don't wear perfumes and colognes because a lot of people are allergic to them. All right? So, don't pop gum. In other words, don't let the body distract the prospect. Anything other than your prospect getting 100% of you is wrong. All right? It's a professionalism point. Hey, thanks. Man, I had to wiggle out of that one. All right. Number 7 is tell the truth. Now, wouldn't you know it, right when that one came up, I had to go back and tell you that one. Number 8 is to know what you're talking about. This is don't wing it. Quit saying you're new. Right? It's an excuse. You're not new. Learn it. Learn the business. Okay? You got to know about the industry. I was on this cruise, and these were the top leaders in this company, and they had achieved this rank. And I stood up and I said, how many of you know the difference between a pyramid scheme and a legitimate MLM company? And there were a couple of half hands, And I said, well, what's the difference between a Ponzi scheme and a pyramid scheme? And I ended up going table to table, and none of them could explain it. And I said, no wonder people view us as a pyramid scheme. None of us can even explain it. All right? Well, how many of you saw the interview with Larry King that I did? I took him down. Why? Because I knew the difference between a pyramid scheme and a Ponzi scheme, and he had gotten taken by a Ponzi scheme, and he wanted to know how it happened. All right? And by the way, I used the inviting formula to get that interview. So you got to know what you're talking about. You can't wing it. Don't puff it, Number 9 is to communicate at the prospect's level. Once you know what you're talking about, you've got to talk at their level, not below it, not above it. I'll give you an example of that one. Somebody cold called me. He said, if I could show you a way to make $10,000 a month, would you be interested? And I said, no. He goes, why not? I said, I don't want the pay cut. Right? You got to communicate at the prospect's level. He didn't care who I was. He had some level that he thought no one would answer the phone that had that much money. Right? So you got to talk at the prospect's level. Something that's going to get their attention and their understanding. And you cannot do that one unless you did step number 1 of the communication qualities correctly, called be interested. And step 2 of the inviting formula, called qualify. And then number 10 is that you just genuinely have to have the intention to make people's lives better. Now, some of you know a little bit about my story. I started out and I built the company New Skin. And that was while I was in the military. And if you can imagine a military diver, bomb squad guy, and selling skincare, I had some embarrassing moments that I had to deal with my friends. Well, the people I call my friends. And so it took me about 5 years to get to $150,000 a month, and then I retired. Okay, I retired for 18 years and did nothing. Helped in the training, wrote some policies in different countries, getting network marketing established in Bahrain, wrote some of the policies in India and in Malaysia. Did some things that really helped the industry. Did the interview with Larry King, wrote Brilliant Compensation and shot that. And various things because I just love this industry. I love it. And do you know what is really, really sad? Is that I know that a lot of you, your battle is not leads. Your battle is not anything except one little tiny thing. You don't quite believe this thing. You know, it might just be a little scammy. You know, you might just feel a little bit predatory. And I don't. I know differently. I know that I would still, if I was still alive, I would still be defusing bombs. I would probably be in the mercenary groups. That's the difference between you and I. It works. It works unbelievably well. And I'll never forget, there was a guy who said to me, he said, Tim, if network marketing, and this is while I was retired, if network marketing is so great, why aren't you building? And I couldn't answer that. I thought I retired. I'm helping the industry and things like that. And it put one of those little bugs in me. And then somebody else said, your techniques are old school. They don't work today. Oh, you just watch me. And so I got back into the game. And I love it so much. I wake up every morning feeling like I'm in the middle of a skydive. It is blissful. I'm that guy that is a goofball the whole day. When I talk to prospects, I'm goofing around. And when I'm in the car, I drive and I look beside me and I see people sitting in traffic. I'm like Jordan, I don't ever see traffic. I go to a matinee if I want to see a movie. You know, if I'm on the golf course, it's on a Wednesday, you know, in the middle of the day. And so it is, I have a different lifestyle. Like I can't imagine how people will, for 1 second, if they have the thought that the industry is predatory, or if the industry is not quite legal, or if the industry is whatever, that they don't dig into it. I was fortunate enough to live across the street from the Federal Trade Commission. They hate me. I went over there all the time. I bugged them. I would sit over there and I would talk to this one lady and I would say, okay, let me get this straight. So if a Ponzi scheme takes money from person A and then loans it to person B, right? That's robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? What's the difference between a Ponzi scheme and a bank? Better yet, what's the Social Security issue? Right? So my mom and dad put money into Social Security their whole life so that when we retire, we would get their money. Wait a minute. That's stealing from mom and dad. Right? You get the idea? Like, it's the craziest thing. And I'll never forget, after about the 10th time that I persisted on that question, the lady said to me, and she goes, off the record. I go, okay, sure. And she goes, the interest rate. Takes a second, doesn't it? In other words, the interest rate was the only difference between a bank and a Ponzi scheme. You get more in a Ponzi scheme. You see, in other words, I know all about the banking, the finance, everything having to do with the law, because I would say, all right, let me get this straight. If I'm driving 56 and the speed limit's 55, I know right when I crossed it. Why can't you tell me when it becomes an illegal pyramid scheme from a legitimate MLM? Tell me how. Why can't you tell me that law? Right? I was that guy. You see, I figured them all out. I know. This is the most ethical industry in the world. All right? So you cannot leave here with any doubts. There was a lady who was in Australia, and she came up to me after I had talked long ago. And she said, you know, I've been in this industry for 43 years. And I've always just kind of thought that it was a little shady. Not shady enough, but a little shady. All right. So, communication qualities, those are the slides that I just showed you there. Those are the how you say it. Those are the things that you correct for your people. If you've got someone on your team and your income for the rest of your life is going to depend on them, teach them to quit popping their gum during the meeting. Come on, right? If it was your child, you would. And these people you're going to earn an income for the rest of your life. Teach them. Sometimes it's tough. You know, hey, man, get a Tic Tac, would you? Right? Sometimes you just have to say these things. You have to correct people because they're not getting it on their own. So you have to observe. And that list is how you observe. It's what you're looking for. All right. So I'm going to, I went the wrong way. Sorry. So now we get into, I'm going to teach you a couple of those drills. A couple of those communication qualities. So that I'm preparing you for the drills that we're going to do. For a lucky few. All right. The drill that I'm going to teach you is called Get Below the Surface. It's called the Get Below the Surface drill. And let me explain the drill just a little bit, or the action. The action is that you get a prospect and you're talking to them and they won't let you into their life. That's the person who says, would you like to make extra money? No. Well, would you like to have some extra time? No. Obviously, you're not talking. In other words, he's not giving you the truth. And it's because you have not earned the right yet. And so sometimes they will just throw out an answer to shut you up. And they've not, in essence, invited you in yet. They haven't let you in. And so I have found that in the second step of the inviting formula, and remember, it's greet, qualify. I have found that it's in the qualify step, when you're trying to find out what they need, want, and don't want, that they'll throw out a surface type of an answer. And you're going to have to get underneath that surface. And so I'm going to teach you techniques on how to do that. And examples. All right, so there's certain communication qualities that you have to have razor sharp in order to get below the surface. That's the bottom line. Number one is the communication quality. It just happens to be number one, called be interested in the prospect. You cannot get below the surface if you cannot genuinely be interested in someone. So the very first thing that you do, you say to a prospect whenever you meet them, it's just if you'll learn this little tiny thing, just a silent little, I'm interested in you. If you'll just learn that little thing, right? You will be so accepted when you shake their hand or when you're talking to them on the phone because they perceive things. Is that weird? Is that weird to anybody? You perceive things? You ever walk into a bathroom and think something's going to jump up and crawl on you? Yeah, that feeling. It's the same, just in a nice way. Right? You walk in, you're like, ooh, man. You know? I've gone into drug houses with shotguns and felt more comfortable. The next one is that you'll never say the wrong thing to any prospect that you're genuinely interested in. In other words, have you ever stuck your foot in your mouth? You don't. You actually don't when you're genuinely interested. Because they feel it, and you can never say the wrong thing. And this is my law. And I said this back when no one had this conversation. People were talking about, I'm going to teach you how to hang up on your prospect before they hang up on you. There is only one business on this planet, and it's called the business of making people's lives better. There is no other business in the world. As soon as you think, thanks, yeah. As soon as you think there's another business, you're lost. You might have a temporary paycheck, your history. All right? Your history. Okay, so in communication quality, I'm going to tell you what it is that you don't think about. and what you do think about. So on the left-hand side, these are the things that you do think about. Number one is whatever they're interested in, you be thinking about that. Number two is what they're wearing, what they're doing, what they're talking about, what they're looking at, what they want, what they enjoy doing, what they enjoy watching, what they enjoy listening to, what they enjoy talking about, what their hobbies are, what do they do, why do they do their hobbies, what does it give them, what made them fall in love with that hobby. That's what you should be thinking about. Now let me tell you about what you shouldn't be thinking about. The money you could make if they buy and sign up. How many of you think about how you're going to get rich because of somebody? If you're saying the right thing or not, if you dress correctly, if your prospect can tell you're new at it, if your prospect can tell if you're making little or no money, if your prospect thinks you're a fake because your car, house are closed. Have you ever parked down the street? Am I the only one that used to do that? You never parked down the street and walked up to the prospect's house? Oh man, you guys are spoiled. I bet Jordan did. If the prospect will object when you tell them the cost to join, if the prospect will object when you find out it's network marketing, if the prospect doesn't do it, how will you make your volumes this month? How will you handle their objection or question the prospect is asking? Do you know how I know that list? That used to be what was on my mind. Called stinking thinking. All right, communication quality number 4. All right, so everybody remember that you've got to be interested in order to ever get below the surface when you're talking to someone. All right, communication quality number 4. This is the most difficult to train. And it is the reason why some people just have it and some don't. But fortunately, I figured it out and I can teach it. Use the correct amount of assertiveness. Assert means the amount of force or effort used to make an opinion known. If you have an opinion on something, how much force do you use to let somebody become aware of it? Too much assertiveness versus not enough. Okay? If it's not enough, you don't come across believable. You don't come across as believing it yourself. The third eye is how you actually govern this. In other words, that eye that's in the middle of your forehead that's supposed to be watching the effect you're having on others. Okay? If you've got mashed potatoes all over that thing, then you can't figure it out. Too much assertiveness is the major reason people hide from network marketers. Okay, so if you've got people who will never accept your calls, okay, figured it out. Just the right amount of assertiveness is charisma. It's charm. You seem to have it. Charisma means a personal quality that arouses devotion and enthusiasm in others. Excited? All right, so here's the way it goes. Let's just call this neutral. And on this side, it goes opposed to. All right, so you're sitting there talking to somebody, and then right up until the point that you said that, they became opposed to something. Now, if you keep going, you push them over into leaning back. And if you keep going, they completely back up and hide from you. You got it? If you're here, though, and you're talking to somebody and you notice them go from neutral to interest, okay, then you can continue on. But if you see them go like that, opposition, you don't keep going. If that seems incredibly simple to you, you've not done enough training. Okay? Because you're going to find some people that you want to hit. Like a roundhouse kick to the forehead? Yeah. All right. Number 4, a little bit more on number 4, is right amount of assertiveness. So the first thing that you do, because here's the problem, is that you might have the right amount of assertiveness with a certain person. But you don't necessarily have the right amount of assertiveness for every person, because most people have different assertiveness levels on different topics, right? You talk to him about his divorce and he's going to be... You talk to him about who won the football game last night. Yeah, go Raiders! Right? He's completely different. And so you have to, like, in essence, identify how someone's, like, acceptance of what you're talking about. So that's step number one, is that you identify. Now, how do you identify that? Voice volume is one of the things. So if a person's talking real loud, very gregariously, then you'll know that they've got a little bit more assertiveness on the topic. If their body language, if they stand up, if they talk with their hands a lot, things like that, those are more expressive types of communication. Where if they're standing there with their hands folded or behind their back, right, they tend to be a little bit more timid. There was a gentleman, and it was in prepaid legal, and I was doing some trainings for that company. And anybody know a guy named Tony Hughes? You do, yeah. All right, he's a big fella. He looks like a Coke machine with ears. Okay, he is a big guy. And I was doing this drill with him where I was teaching him the right amount of assertiveness, and I had him do the drill with this little Asian gal. She was about that tall. And every time he starts out by talking to her like this, and then by the end of it, he's like turned sideways, and his hands are like this, and he's talking to her, and she had to give him the okay that she was talking at his level. But that's what has to happen. You have to experience the difference between being in your body and being in their body. Now, why is this your responsibility? Why couldn't they just do this? Because you know about it. Facial expressions. Are they stone-faced? All right? Less assertive. They very, smile and goofy, things like that, then they can handle a lot more. Direct or dispersed communication. If I answer your question with no, or I answer that question with, sometimes, maybe not, but a lot of times, it just depends on the situation. I've said the same thing, haven't I? But I used a whole lot of extra words to deflect your upset. Right? So this is a good measurement of how someone else will receive your communication. Time and time frame. And what this has to do with is that sometimes it's just the right time in their life. My wingman, this guy's sitting right over there. His name is Steve Schwartz. He just picked up a new car. Right? He flew from where we live in Park City. And he flew down to San Diego, got himself a new car, and drove up here. Do you think I could say anything that would upset that guy? Nothing. Other than, hey, man, your car looks like a grocery getter. I'm just joking. Can you tell he and I goof around a lot? Yeah, like we accept one another, right? That's why he's my wingman. You know that guy, one day I was in an event, and he had stood in the lobby and waited until I came to check into the hotel, asked me if he could help carry my bags. This was about probably 12 years ago or something like that. And now he ended up with me in his organization. Right? Isn't that cool? Like, that's the way that it works. It really, really does. It's just, it's the greatest industry in the world. Now, he was in the Army. That's the downside, and I can't forgive him for that. The last one is repetition. How frequently does someone say something? Okay? So if you met with me and then I said to you, I need to think about it, I need to do some research, and you said, okay, very, very good. And then you called me on the way home, and then when I got home, there was a message on my answer machine from you, asking if I've made a decision or not. And then I've got 2 text messages when I wake up tomorrow morning. It's the frequency that you communicate that tells me your assertiveness level. You get all those? So those are the things that indicate or that tell you whether or not someone's assertive or not so much. What do you think it would take with me? Okay, so you've been watching me this whole time. What kind of assertiveness would you have to use if you wanted to sponsor me? A lot. I skydive. I dive to 300 feet. I got 13 speeding tickets for over 100 miles an hour on a motorcycle. I'm a nut. I'm a goofball. I'm a nut. Huh? Yeah, underwater too. So you better not come up to me all shy and timid about your deal. Okay? You just pretty much better punch me in the chest with it. All righty. So that was one of the communications you need in order to correctly do the drill, which is get below the surface. The next one is to communicate at the prospect's level. All right? And what that means is that not just like the kid who called me and asked me if I wanted a pay cut, but you also have to do things from the standpoint that you can't use words that are below or above them. You know, somebody called me and said, I'm in something called multi-level marketing. I'd be like, really? You know? So he's going to have to communicate at my level that way, and you also can't tell someone, yeah, I am in a 3x4 matrix. It starts off as a binary, and then you get paid down 6 levels of generations. You can't use that stuff. You can't even say I'm a double diamond, double backflip, Shazam. You know, you can't say any of that stuff. As soon as you use words that people don't understand, that's when they blank out. You lose them. They lose you. They feel like they can't do it, like they're not good enough. And so just as a survey, I went out and surveyed people going into Whole Foods, and I asked them the question, do you know what an antioxidant is? And they said to me, 92%, yes. Good, explain it to me. 4% could actually explain free radicals and electrons and those sorts of conversations. And so I stopped saying antioxidants. You get it? In other words, I would not say antioxidant unless I was going to say something in explanation of what an antioxidant was. And so don't assume someone's knowledge. What's the purpose of the dictionary? Definitions. Yeah, but it's words you know and then explaining words you don't know, right? So you get some crazy word, and then there's a group of words that you know that explain what that word means. So that's all that it is. So you need to be a dictionary. You need to use words they know to explain things they don't know. So you're going to need to know what you're talking about. Learn the phrase. If there's anything on this that I would write down, I'd write down, what does that mean to you? Because it will blow your mind. How many people go, yep, you betcha. What does that mean? Oh, well, everybody knows that. I mean, who doesn't know that? Them. Communication quality number 10, and that is the intention to make somebody's life better. You've got your goals. How in the world do you get your goals out of your way when you're talking with a prospect? All right, well, you just put them on the back burner, because what you want is your prospect to genuinely see it. If they don't see it, they don't see it. You don't lose your goals because of it. All right, so definition of the word intention is an aim that guides your actions. And then if your intention is correct, your actions will be correct. And the opposite is true. If my wife says to me, if I say to my wife, hey, I'm going to go to the grocery store, and then she calls me in an hour asking where I'm at, and I'm swinging a golf club, then she will say either his intention in the beginning was wrong or his intention got altered somewhere down the road, right? And so you can always tell someone's intentions by either what they say or their actions. And if they're ever out of alignment, then you know you got a fake, right? And so when you're sitting down with a prospect, you have one intention: make their life better. Anything else is wrong. Like, why are you standing there? And by the way, that's the other reason I love being back in this industry. All right? I have, like, it keeps me vibrant from the standpoint of I go digging in and I start finding out what's in water, what's in bottled water. In other words, it becomes a cause, right? So if you're in this because you want to make money, it's tough, okay? Like it has to almost become a crusade. My wife and I are creating something called Healthy Baby Academy. It's because we want to teach moms how to have healthy babies, right? Are there some products involved? Sure. But we're passionate about that. I want to help people understand that we are eroding our planet by sucking water out from underneath our life, our planet, and putting them into bottles. Okay? Now what does that have to do with Tim making money? If I'm ethical about everything that I do, and I genuinely want to help this planet, and I want to help the people on this planet, then I deserve so much stinking money that I can't spend it. And then my kids will have old money. Does that make sense? That you have to have the dream. You know, you have to have that crusade feeling about you. All right, that's the other thing. I absolutely love this industry. Have you, I know I'm a little bit off the track here, but I want to just ask you something. Has anybody read any kind of those conspiracy theories out there that somebody's trying to take us down, they're trying to feed us food that's going to kill us? You read any of this stuff? Newsflash. If you know about it, it's not a conspiracy. They can't get you at it if you know about it. You get it? If you're still eating the genetically modified foods, well, then you deserve to die. You know, like I hear people like whispering this stuff and I just giggle. You know, it's like, it can't be a theory, it can't be a conspiracy theory if you know about it. They can't surprise you. Guess what? I already know. You know, you see what I'm saying? I think, and the reason I bring this up around network marketing is because I believe that there is no better platform for any kind of a grassroots movement than this industry. Because what any conglomerate, some large company like Coca-Cola or Nestle or any of these other ones that own the whole water supply in the United States, what they've got in their favor is organization. They're organized. Well, look at us. Look at us. All right? They got a head start, so they got, and they haven't met me. All right, I can take them on. Okay, so if your intention is correct, genuine, then you'll always do the right thing and you'll say the right thing. All right, so show me somebody focused on money. I'll show you somebody tired, broke, and hungry. Show me somebody that's focused on helping people get something that they need and want, and I'll show you somebody that drops a $112,000 check on their steps, runs up the steps to change their clothes and run back down and go out the door to do an in-home, and he forgets for 4 months that there's a $100,000 check sitting on his step. I cared more about my downline than me. I had to make John. I had to get James. I had to get this guy up and going. So care about your people. Get your goals off your refrigerator. Put your front line's goals on your refrigerator. All right? Don't stop until they get what they want. And then suddenly, you know, you're going to be leaving your checks on the steps. It's not hard work that makes money. It's genuinely helping people. Okay, so Inviting, all right, so I'm going to go into 2 steps of the inviting formula, actually 3. Number 1, what is inviting? It's asking someone to do something. Go to a movie with me, go to play golf, take a look at this video, whatever it is. It's just an invitation. All invitations have some semblance of a natural flow. It goes from one step to another. Number 1, you greet, and then you qualify. And in other words, I can say, hey, Mom, what are you doing for turkey dinner? That's greet and qualify right there. Why? Because I already know my mom. I already know what she's about around Thanksgiving. And then I'm going to ask her to come Park City, Utah with me. Okay? That's the invitation. And she says, no, son, it's cold up there. No, that's an objection. No, it's not. Right? Okay. And then you're going to close them into an action step and saying, okay, Mom, I'm going to get you tickets. Right? So it's not any different in network marketing than it is in life itself. You handle any questions and objections when they come up, and then you follow up or follow through. All right, so let me dig into the greeting just a little bit. Polite verbal and nonverbal expressions used when meeting or talking to your prospect. All right? So what's a nonverbal? It's a wink, it's a handshake, it's anything, right? That's a nonverbal. The next one. The purpose of the greeting is to get your prospect willing to talk freely and openly to you. I did not say build rapport. That is completely different. And the reason why there's a difference between building rapport and what I call the greeting is because there is no end point at building rapport. And remember when I talked about these buckets? That you can talk about any of this stuff in here, but do not cross over here until you get the okay. And what is the okay? The okay is when they're speaking freely and openly to you. Normally, they've given you something intimate. They've told you a little bit about their bank account. They've told you a little bit about their job. They told you a little bit about their divorce. They told you a little bit of something. That is what allows you to cross over. And then you're in the qualify step. If your prospect's not talking freely and openly to you, do not move to the qualify step. Qualify step. Definition is to affirm capable and willing. The purpose of the qualify step is to find out what the prospect needs, wants, or doesn't want as it pertains to your business or product. You learn what will actually... Remember when I said there's only one business on the planet, and that's the business making someone's life better? Well, it's the qualify step that you actually get to find out what it is. What will make this prospect's life better? All right, it's the most valuable thing you'll ever receive. Now, I heard a couple of people yell out when Jordan asked about what you wanted, and I heard 2 different people say they wanted to get married. Listen up. If you genuinely do all the communication qualities with your mate, and if you genuinely do the inviting formula, they're going down. So just find who it is that you want and take them down, because this works all the time. I taught my son this. Yeah, I'm telling you. I taught my son this because he couldn't pick up girls. And then I was like, what did I do? Dad, meet Shirley. Dad, meet Monica. Dad, meet... Oh, my gosh. Get out of here, man. Oops. Okay. It also determines if your prospect qualifies to be invited. All right. Now, here's where this goes a little bit strange. Is that you need to determine for real, for true, right? And this is one of the heart things. Is that can you help them get what they want? Because if you can't, you cannot move forward. Do not invite people who you can't help them. Do you want to help them? All right, I admit it. This is my business, my world, my universe. And there's people that I don't want to help. Whatever it is about them, just various different things, I've just said, no. You know what? I've got 5 people I'm working with. You want a Ferrari, you want a fur coat, and you want to save the people of India. I'm going with you. Right? I just don't even invite them. And do they want help? A lot of people, if you ever did honestly help them, they would be without their problem. And then what would they do? They've been complaining about their ex-husband's tiny little bit of alimony. They've been complaining about that for 10 years. If you all of a sudden solve that, what are they going to whine about? So they don't want help for real. They just want to complain. All right, so once they do qualify, once you've determined that you do want to work with them, then move to invite. And you just ask for the presence or the participation of. The purpose of the invite is to ask your prospect to review information that can help them achieve what they've stated that they want. Okay? You use that relevant information that you gain in the qualify step. So here's the way this thing goes. So if the lady says to me, I want to make my own income. Okay. You want to make your own income. So that you can make your own income, I want you to take a look at a video. You hear that? I want a sailboat to cruise the Caribbean islands. So you can have a sailboat to cruise the Caribbean islands. I'd like you to take a look at a website. In other words, they won't say no because they just said they want that. Do you hear that little? I can't believe it how people will alter what they say. The woman says, I want my own income, and he says, oh, so you're not satisfied with your ex-husband's money. She didn't say that. Shut up. Right? In other words, now you'll know what it's like to get around me in the training room. Because this is very exact. They have the entire English language. They chose a few specific words to describe their emotions on something, and then you go and change it. Don't. You lose the power of the whole inviting formula if you alter what they say. And then right after you say, I'm going to send you a video or I'm going to have you go to a website, right after you say that, move right into close to action when we get a chance to take a look at it. There you go. That's the inviting formula. Any questions? Somebody say, wow? I don't know how to answer that. But thank you. Speak up, real loud, scream at me. Assertiveness.
Yes, okay. So I know this is cold market, but is there a way to use this in getting people into a PPR?
Sweetie, I just told you how to find your man. He's right there. Okay? Okay. So what she asked is this is for cold market, and you don't want me, that's not what you said?
Okay, this question is, how do you deal with, I use these steps and I get a lot of people to close to action and take a look, and then they say they like it, but then I actually never get them to follow through and sign up. They like disappear or they don't stop answering the calls and all that.
Okay, so she says that she gets the person through the inviting formula, and then they receive some information, and then they go away. Is that your question? Okay, welcome. You think you're the only one? You know when the statistics are 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10? Those were the 8. They just go away. Do more numbers. I mean, I'd love to give you some fancy answer, but I'm truthful. You know, it's straight up. So number one is that whatever you're having them looking at, once you go past 100 and they don't give you anything, like you can't get anything after 100, then start questioning whatever you're sending them to look at is horrible. Not converting. And a lot of times I just call those people up and say, what didn't you like about that page? Or what didn't you like about that video? So that I can correct that thing. All right, one more real quick. Speak up real loud.
When you were doing the qualities of communication, you jumped from 4 to 9 and 10?
Yeah. Yep. Because we'd be here till tomorrow morning if I went through all of those and did the drills. So there were specific ones that are very relevant to the drill I'm going to do. Aren't you a smarty pants? The question, for those of you out in your home, the question that she asked was, I skipped around in the communication qualities, and she wanted to know why, and that if I was aware of that. Thank you for correcting that. All right. So let's do a little drill here. And this one is not going to be like your standard drill. This is called a pop quiz. And I'm going to need a couple of people up here. Who just wants to volunteer? You don't care what I'm going to do. All right, come on up. Come on. Come on. Steve, you need to come up here. Hey. And if I could get another microphone, if that would be possible. All right, so hang on, right? You keep coming. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Thank you. 10, 11. There are 12. You're 13. All right. I'm going to try to find that person who's hiding. You know, the person that goes, looks like she's looking at her computer, or she looks like she's doing something. I want to find that really, really scared person. You're not scared, but come on up, please. She knows what I'm going to say before I say it. I've been watching her. You, sir. You didn't hide enough. Okay. Yeah, you're a good target. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right? I need one more. You. Awesome. Give her a hand. Okay. So I'm going to hand you the mic, and then I'm going to ask a question. Okay, I'm going to give you a scenario. This is like a scenario. Okay? And so what I want you to do is I'm going to read the scenario, and then I'm going to say, what question could you ask?
Okay.
Okay? So this would go something like you're talking to a prospect, and the prospect says to you they don't want to make money. What would you ask?
What do you want to do outside of money? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy?
Beautiful. Does anyone not understand the drill? Okay. Beautiful. You guys are so fun. Thank you for coming up here and playing Guess What I'm Thinking. Okay, I'm going to get down here so that you guys are the stars, so that you feel the pressure. Okay? All right, here's the first drill. In talking with an attorney that you just met on an airplane, he says, I'm a little stressed because I have a trial when I arrive. You ask the attorney, do you enjoy the stress? The attorney responds, no, I don't particularly enjoy the stress. What appropriate question could you ask?
What do you enjoy about your job if you don't enjoy the stress?
Good. Everybody all right with that? If you were that attorney, would you be all right with that? Did he use the right amount of assertiveness? Was he interested? Did he have the intention to make my life better? All right? Remember, I told you guys think they're on the spot. Nah, you are on the spot. You are the grading public. You get to determine if he ever gets off the stage. Everybody good with his answer? That would be pretty logical, right? Yeah, it sounded smooth to me. Congratulations. You're welcome to depart. If you hand the mic off. Good job. All right. Thank you. State your name.
Jules Price.
Joel's?
Jules.
Jules. Nice. Okay. Dialogue number 2. After properly greeting a purchased lead, okay, so you purchased a lead over the internet.
I don't do that.
You did today. She says, I'm just looking for something to do from home. What appropriate question could you ask?
The lead said that. What kinds of things are you interested in? It's similar to what he said. That's probably what I'd say.
I felt as though that she was a little shy. I felt she was timid. Now, I see some people. I see you feeling sorry for her. You know, whoever's feeling sorry is going up there, right? There is no feeling sorry for people in this industry. That says, I can't get over my concern, and so I'm going to let you fail. We train here, okay? See, there's a disease in this industry. It's called, I'm going to pretend to train you, and you're going to pretend to work. And I've been trying to correct that for a long time, okay? So, I'm going to read it to you again.
Okay.
I gave you some time. All right. After properly greeting a purchase lead, she says, I'm just looking for something to do from home. What appropriate question could you ask?
Remember, you made me come up here.
I do.
All right. Well, I would probably say, aside from what kinds of things are you interested in? I mean, that's all I can think of to say.
Good. All I was asking for you to say it in a way that it would actually
Oh,
be
we're
received.
acting. Oh, I can
No,
do
you're
that.
not. No, you're not acting.
I didn't know you wanted to have a little role playing, Tim. I'm good about that.
Boy, she just swaggers right
Tell me.
into her.
Tell me, Tim, what do you enjoy doing?
Beautiful. Everybody good with that one? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. All right, you ready, sir? What's your name?
Jesse Catlin.
Hi, Jesse. Okay. Thank you. You bought an internet lead. You're qualifying Paul, that's his name, and he says, I just need to make some extra money and thought I'd see what's out there. What appropriate question could you ask?
That's a good question. Well, Paul, what have you seen so far?
Good. Everybody good with that? I like that one a lot. Yeah. It's a winner. Good job. Good job, man. Steve. Okay. You're at a social event and you meet a very successful entrepreneur who is very gregarious and seems to always have a crowd around him. In talking to him, you ask him what kind of work he does. He replies, I just love building companies. What is an appropriate question you could ask?
What kind of companies do you like to build?
Right? Okay, beautiful. It's easy as that. If I wanted to dig just a little deeper, you can go ahead and sit down. If I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that question, just so you guys know the way that I operate, this guy would have been all mine. Because I would say, what about building businesses don't you like? Because, see, that would probably expose a part that I'm after. See, I'm trying to get him to qualify. And so I'm trying to expose something that would make him mine. Because I can solve a lot of problems that traditional business owners have. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
You're very patient with me. What is your name?
Candace Viafana.
Nice to meet you. Okay. You ran an ad in the local newspaper, and a computer programmer faxed you his resume. After a good greeting, he states, I'm a victim of downsizing in XYZ Corporation, and I'm looking for anything to make money right now. What is an appropriate question to ask?
Oh, gosh. Okay. So you didn't see that coming?
With me, that would work, okay? But see, there's some clues in here. He is a victim.
Okay.
Did you hear that? A victim. They're very timid. All right? So she was too over the top. Okay, you're going to have to do this one again, okay? Now remember, I taught you the clues up here, okay? And when you qualify someone, you're trying to find out what they need, want, and don't want. So listen very carefully to what it was that he said. You ran an ad in a local newspaper, and a computer program faxed you his resume. After after doing a good greeting, he states, I'm a victim of downsizing at XYZ Corporation, and I'm looking for anything to make extra money right now. What is an appropriate question to ask?
Well, how are you going to prevent that from happening again if you just do the same thing?
What do you guys think?
Okay. Was that too strong?
It's a little bit too strong, and you missed the clues.
Okay.
You missed the clues. There was a point where I growled at the audience, and I say, if they say something, say it back to them in their words.
Okay.
Okay? I'm going to just read what he says so you don't get distracted by all the other stuff.
Okay.
I'm a victim of downsizing at XYZ Corporation, and I'm looking for anything to make money right now.
If I can show you how to make some money, would you take a look at? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. You're on the right track. That just sounded a little hokey, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So how about something just like, how much money do you need to make?
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's needing help.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to
Right.
be snazzy. You know? I loved, you didn't see that coming? Like that was gorgeous, but it wouldn't work for that prospect.
I thought you were saying assertiveness was a good thing. I wasn't sure if it was good or bad. But
Oh, it's neutral. You just have to be at their same level. See, I didn't communicate to her at her level, right? I used something that confused her. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very, very much. What's your name?
Carla.
What is it?
Carla.
Carla. Thank you. Thank you. All right. You ready?
Yes.
You're talking to a waiter at a restaurant that you frequent. You've said pleasant hellos several times before. In your greeting, you ask him if he does any other type of work. He states, with a chuckle, I'm a struggling actor. What is an appropriate question you could ask?
I'd say to him, if you're struggling, what performances or have you taken? Have you taken many auditions lately? And are you looking for another way in order to subsidize until another acting gig comes out?
All the yays? I'm sorry, sweetie. We're going to have to do that again.
All right.
I only saw half the room. Okay. Give it to you again, all right? So I want you to just really listen. Forget about them. You're talking to a waiter at a restaurant that you frequent. You've said pleasant hellos several times before. In your greeting, you ask him if he does any other kind of work. He states with a chuckle, I'm a struggling actor. What is an appropriate question you could ask?
As a struggling actor, are you looking to subsidize your income in another way?
What do you think? Good. Yeah, it is definitely better. All right? Just so that you know, I would have said something. In other words, that's an invite. And what you're trying to do is get below the surface. And so just so that you know, and this is not right or wrong. This is just on the years that I've been doing it, okay? So I would have hit the word struggling actor, okay? I would have said, why does it feel like you're struggling? What about acting is struggling? And he would have said, I can't make any money. There's a drought between gig and gig. And then that would have been wide open. Okay, so you just moved into the invite a little bit quick. Does everybody understand what I just explained? Yes. All right. Yes, sir. Real quick. Good. You could have.
He was at... Oh, we got to speed up.
Man, I about hit the deck. Who just yelled at me? Yeah. Can you repeat it? I will. Yeah, just say what you said again. Yeah. So what he says is that he would have just turned this actor thing around and found out more about that. Yeah. The one problem there is that if you put the emphasis on an area, they might run on it. In other words, they might take off on acting. I want to focus on struggling, because I can solve struggling. I can't solve acting. Okay? You guys see how careful these things are written? Well, the reason I'm doing this drill is so that you start being as careful as I'm making everybody be. Right? You have to listen to what people say exactly, because it's their world. They give you all the clues in everything that they say. All right. You ready?
Yes, sir. Yvette Simmons Payne.
You told me outside that you were excited because I do drills, and I said, you have no idea. All right, so let me find this hardest one that I've got in here. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
You send out postcards to 3 zip codes in your area. A lady left a message on your voicemail. You call her back, and during the greeting, she says that she's in a network marketing company, but was just curious what you're doing. What is an appropriate question you could ask? Flonk.
What network marketing program are you currently in?
Okay. What do you think? All right. Anybody have something? He's going to spank me for that one. I can't have you guys speak. Sorry. What would you have said?
What did you see that made you curious about our opportunity?
What did you see that made you curious about our opportunity? Okay. Now, she said, was just curious what you're doing. Okay? Why is she curious? Good. Huh? What's got you looking around? Great. Now it's happening. Look at this popcorn. Pop, 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 pop. Exactly.
I like that.
All right. Okay, so I'm going to give it to you again. All right. You send out postcards to 3 zip codes in your area. A lady left a message on your voicemail. You call her back, and during the greeting, she says that she's in a network marketing company, but was just curious what you're up to or what you're doing. What is an appropriate question you can ask?
What exactly did you see on the postcard that made you curious about my opportunity?
Beautiful. Beautiful. What's your name, sir?
Russell Alley.
Hi, Russell. All right, you're at a gym working out and start talking with a gentleman. During your greeting, you learn that he's an economist who works at the Commerce Department. He later states, well, it's a job, obviously not very exciting. What is an appropriate question you could ask?
What is it that you don't like about your job?
What do you think? Yeah, you missed the buzzword. Exciting. What excites you? What, if you were doing what excites you, right? So he gave you the word, you gave him the other side. I can't flunk you for that. It's good, but it could have been great. Okay, so he left the word. Okay, is there any other way? I'm not going to read it all over again, but can you, do you hear any other parts of that? Well, it's a job, obviously not very exciting. What's an appropriate question you could ask?
So you're not happy with your job?
Okay. All right. So, what do you think? What are you laughing about? It's time for her to get back up there. Yeah. The key thing is find that word that he used there. All right. So he did say not very exciting. All right. So that's what you're looking for. Okay. See, this exercise is me telling you to really listen. That's all that it is. It's listen because the clue is in what they say. Okay.
So what would excite you?
So yeah, good. So what excitement do you feel like you're missing out on? Oh, I don't know. I'd like make my own hours. Done. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, contestant number 9. What's your name, sir?
My name is Rob Wagner.
Rob Wagner. He's getting ready, isn't he? All right. You're cashing a check at your bank and start talking with the teller. She states that she's happy at the bank, but is thinking about going back to school to get her MBA. What is an appropriate question you could ask?
Going back for an MBA, that sounds like a wonderful thing. What do you think you would plan to do with that?
Why are you guys looking at me, waiting on me to have some kind of expression? What do you think? You're the teller. You're the teller. Okay, so what she says is are you supposed to be looking for a dissatisfaction? Not necessarily, right? Just exactly what it is that she said, thinking about going back to school to get an MBA.
Well,
An MBA in what? Okay?
I mean, okay.
Yeah, or what would an MBA get you? Right? She may say more money. She may say, I want to leave here. Okay? That's good enough. You did it. Just one correction I might just add. Your assertiveness level, okay? Now you got to remember this is live. That would have been a long silence. Right? Like she's standing there and she just said, I'm going to get my MBA, and you like look off to the left. Honey, you got anything to say? All right. Hang on a minute, sir. You ask her why she wants to get an MBA. She replies, why does anyone get an MBA? To make money, duh. What is an appropriate question you can ask? Man, I gave you all the time in the world.
Yeah, how much money do you think you'd like to make?
Good, that works. Woohoo! All right. What's your name?
T.
T?
Yes.
Me too. You're climbing into your car when a guy approaches you about buying a cell phone. You tell him you already have a cell phone, that you're happy with it, and then ask him how long he's been selling phones. And he says, not too long, it's only temporary until I find something else. What appropriate question could you ask?
Well, I'm not necessarily into buying a cell phone right now, but do you ever go to networking events?
I'm sorry. They, if any of them were selling you phones, they wouldn't have gone with that one.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So I'm going to give you another time, okay? So listen very closely. You're climbing into your car. You got that part all understood, right? I just heard you say that. That part was great. Okay, so a guy comes up to you, and you're climbing into your car, and he approaches you about buying a cell phone, and then you tell him you already have a cell phone, and you're happy, and then you say how long he's been doing this. Okay, selling phones. And then he says, not too long, it's only temporary until I find something else. What is an appropriate question?
Of what nature is the thing you're trying to find? You're trying to find something specific? Is it something more you're passionate about?
Okay, what do you guys think? Okay, let me give you the little bit of a picture that I was trying to paint here, whether it was there or not. And you guys tell me if it was there. Here is this gregarious guy comes up and catches her getting in her car. Tries to sell her a telephone. And she says, right? Did you see the way she went like this and like confused? Okay, that's the wrong amount of assertiveness. This guy is happy. All right? He's gregarious, he stops you, right? And so now, how would you do it?
I have a great opportunity.
All right, what do you think? Just the word opportunity is a little bit off, okay? So he says, not too long, it's only temporary until I find something else.
What else are you looking for?
Beautiful. Woohoo! Okay, do you guys see this? Do you see how this drill works? All right? Like you guys can see it on that side. And our job as trainers is to help them see it on this side. Help them look for those clues. She'll never forget it. If anybody ever tries to sell her a telephone, they're going down. Thank you so much. All right. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. My name is Evan Clausen.
And very gregarious. Anybody else catch that?
And life is great.
Okay. Let's see. I already read that one. I read that one. You ran an ad in the local newspaper and directed them to fax you a resume. You call one of them back. The lady's name is Cheryl. In talking with Cheryl, you ask, what kind of position are you specifically looking for? She says, I'm looking for something challenging and rewarding. What is an appropriate question you could ask?
Sherry, that sounds so cool. I got a challenge for you. Would you like to hear about it?
Okay, you like it? How many A's? Okay. All right. Somebody's got to yell out. You yell out. What was wrong? She said, went right to the invite. Everybody agree with that? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to read the question again to you. What kind of position are you specifically looking for? And she states, I'm looking for something challenging and rewarding.
I can understand. That's pretty interesting. So what is about the challenge that you like the most?
Okay, what do you think? Good. Yeah, how do you define challenge? That's the way I'd have fired it right back. What's a challenge to you? Okay, good. Thank you, sir. All right. All right, what's your name?
Dave Manning.
Dave. All right, here we go. You call a purchase internet lead. You've not told him anything at all about your business, but have asked him what he's looking for. He replies, I'm looking for something that's not MLM.
Ah, that's great. What are you exactly looking for?
I think that actually works. I wrote down here, oh, it sounds like you've had a bad experience. What happened? Okay? I would want to take him on nose to nose. Okay?
Me too.
Yeah, and you would send him down what he's looking for instead of hitting on that straight onto the MLM, but yours would have eventually gotten there. Okay? And they voted yes. So thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, how are you? Introduce yourself.
I'm Michael Barbe.
Beautiful. You meet a person at the gym, and during the greeting, you ask, what kind of work do you do? Her response is, none of your business. What is the correct response? Flunk.
Yeah.
You guys know that every one of these happened to me? That's where these came from.
Could you give it to me again?
Yeah. Okay, so you walk up to somebody and you're working out, and you say, what kind of work do you do? And her response is, none of your business.
Well, I'm glad we're not at work.
You're what?
I'm glad we're not at work.
I'm glad
we're not at work.
We're not at work. You would have got slapped. Okay, try it again. Okay, she says, none of your business. All right, this one's tough, okay? There's only one way to handle this. You're right. It's none of my business. That one's tough.
Thank you.
I gave you the answer to that one. Thank you, man. Are you ready?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. You're right. Because would I really want to work with anyone like that? no. Not just no. All right. In talking with a lady in line at the grocery store, you ask what she does. She responds in a condescending way, I raise my kids. What appropriate question could you ask? She would have walked away by now. Okay, I'll give it to you again. I want you to just think like you really just said, what do you do? And she responds in a condescending way, I raise my kids.
That's tough. I know. I'm a mother myself. Do you ever look at other opportunities to make more money? No.
No, that didn't work. Let's do it again. I raise my kids.
And a wonderful job you're doing.
What do you guys think? Yay? Nay? Yay, raise your hand. All right, we got less than half. Okay. Here's what I wrote down, because this is what happened to me. I said, well, that's the most admirable job. How old are your children? Okay, so it's very similar. So, because, you know what? This lady's got an attitude, and I am not going in, I'm not going in on it. So, thank you. Okay. All right. And last but not least, what's your name?
Marissa Benson.
All right. Okay. You're waiting on someone at the airport and start talking with a guy standing beside you. You ask him what kind of work he does. He says he's a contractor. You ask him if he's happy with it. He says, I absolutely love it. What is an appropriate question you can ask?
What is it that you love about your contracting job?
Perfect. Well done. Thank you very much. All right. So, can you guys see that it's all in the way they word stuff? And can everybody else hear that there is no way you could have caught those little... All right, all of you guys that just watched her walk by, flunked. I put her on the stage the whole time. Couldn't you just spend enough time there? All right, communication quality number 2 is don't be distracted by your environment. All right? And every one of you just flunked right here. All right. I can't compete with you. Okay. The thing that I wanted to really draw, like what's the message inside of what I was training, is that you had to listen to this, which was communication quality number 1, be interested. That was the senior most important thing. You will not hear the nuances of your prospect if you're texting someone, if you're thinking about, how do I spin this? You cannot. You have to just genuinely be there. I have had so many people on the phone with me while I'm talking and they're listening or something, and they say, Tim, how are you so quick? Where do you learn to be quick? And I say, because I do not think of anything before. I am so 100% in that prospect. Nothing else exists. Okay, and when you get there, you're genuinely interested, and you will always be quick in your responses. But if you try to prepare what you're going to say, you will blow it every time. It does not come off right. It misses its mark. It sounds goofy. You're looking up and off to the left. In other words, you're trying to be clever instead of interested. So don't be. All right. I am going to run through some things that I'm not going to show you. Because I want to just end with something. Yeah, all of that, and I'm not getting it? Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about this little concept called, and this is in closing, it's called how hard this industry is. How many of you believe this industry is hard? You're going to regret you raised your hand. Okay, so you guys have got a flavor of my background. At the time I was over in the Persian Gulf, I was defusing bombs, I would skydive, I would vector out like 7 or 8 miles off to one direction. I would land, I'd defuse a bomb, I'd get picked up by a helicopter, sometimes dropped, sometimes not. Sometimes it was pretty crazy, huh? Yeah, and then I'd go drink beer. Okay, you get the idea. So I joined this company. I sat down with this gentleman, and his name was Rick Mayo. Incredible human being. Had he not been so professional, I don't know if I would be here or not. And so he started explaining, he had this pile of skincare sitting here. And he was telling me all about it, about Estee Lauder and La Prairie and all these various different brands. And he was talking about how this one used certain things. And I'm sitting there watching the whole time, and I'm thinking, can I do what this guy's doing? And he says, and in there, he's talking about that they put in inexpensive ingredients in here, but they have fancy packaging. I'm thinking, can I even do that? You know, about what my background is. And then he says they use no advertising. Well, what my job was before, he said they only do by word of mouth advertising. What my job was before, okay, when I was in Biscayne, Florida, I was the guy that they would bust the door down and I would shoot as I went in to do a drug raid on a house. And then I would defuse the bombs in the refrigerator, okay? Now, and I would work inside, undercover on it. Now, I want to ask you something. You ever heard of the pharmaceutical industry? A lot of sales, big industry, right? You ever heard of the oil industry? If you took the whole oil industry and the whole pharmaceutical industry and you combined them together, in sales, they do not do what the illegal drug industry does. But none of them advertise. Nobody says, buy your cocaine here with a big billboard. Okay? All right. So just by him telling me about the skincare and it moves by word of mouth, that's all I needed to hear. I knew it would work. Okay? And so I went away and then I came back and I said, okay, I'm going to join. And then I said these words to him. I said, I need to know the bad. Every single operation I've ever gone on, some politician tells me how easy it is to get into there, but they never tell me how to get out of there. And I had been fed up with their silly rendezvous points that didn't work. And so I wanted to know all the bad. And then he started to say something. His name was Rick again. He started to say something, and then I said, hang on a minute. Before you open your mouth, if you leave anything out, I'm coming after you. Now, I'm sitting there dressed like a tree. All right, I have a camouflage uniform on, right? I'm dressed like a tree, and I'm looking at it. I've calmed down, haven't I? And so basically, long story short, I squeezed out of him that he said, Tim, there's going to be 4 things that are going to be difficult, and it's the bad part of the industry. Here's the 4. Number 1 is rejection. And I said, explain that to me. And he said, people will tell you no. And then I said these words. And then what happens? And he says, well, you just find somebody else. Okay. What else? And he says, deception. I said, tell me about deception. And he says, people not showing up. They'll say they're going to meet you at 2 o'clock and they won't show up. And I go, then what happens? And he said, well, you'll just find somebody else. Really? And what else? Attrition. I go, what do you mean by that? And he says, people quitting the business. And I said, and then what happens? And he said, you'll just have to find other people. And then I said, what else? And he said, disrespected. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he says that people will say that it's a scam or it's a pyramid or something like that, and they're putting you down, they disrespect you. And I go, and then what happens? And he goes, you just find somebody else. And I said, you're joking, right? He goes, what do you mean? I said, you're joking. And he goes, no, really, that's all. I go, no, I mean, you're joking. Because the money that you have shown me that people make in a month is more than I make in a year. And rejection to me is when a bomb blows up into my face. Deception to me is when somebody set a booby trap for me specifically. Attrition is when I lose all my teammates. And disrespect is when somebody's shooting at me. And you mean to tell me that I can make that kind of money? And I am sitting, I got one of these chairs that's got 3 knobs on it. Anybody have that chair? You can hit one of them and it'll slide you all the way back and you can put your feet up on the desk. Anybody else have that chair? How many of you have drinking water within walking distance? Okay, well, at one point in time, I was in a hole and I had to stay there for a few weeks. And whatever I in that hole, I lived in it. Okay? So when these people call me and say, this multi-level market is just so hard. Please tell me what happened. He said he was going to call me back and he didn't. You don't say. Wow. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. All right? Rick Mayo was true to his words. I've been in since 1989, and not one thing has ever been exposed to me that I didn't just read to you. All right? I just said exactly what it's all been. So would somebody please tell me right now what's hard about this industry? They're all yours, sir.